Hi, welcome to the Los Olivos Wine Merchant and Cafe, where you not only get to taste California's Central Coast wines, but you also get to meet the winemakers. And today, I have the privilege again of interviewing Karen Steinwachs. Last time, I was interviewing you about you being the winemaker for Buttonwood, but this time it's a treat. We're going to be talking about Karen's private label, Seagrape Wine Company. And you have been making, you were telling me you've been making these wines under this label at Buttonwood.
Correct.
Since you started at Buttonwood.
Correct.
So how did that all work out? You got hired on at Buttonwood and said, only if I can make my own wine? Or how did that, tell me that story.
Well, I think we all, especially in this area, like to dabble in other things. And at that point in time, Buttonwood was simply estate-grown wines. And my late husband and I really loved the Pinot and Chardonnay from Santa Rita Hills. So when I was hired there from Fiddlehead, where I had made some really delicious Pinot Noir with Kathy, we decided to ask if we could do that. And we don't make very much. We make 600 cases total. I do get to use Buttonwood's facilities, and that's a treat. And certainly, I get to just
makes it
stay
a little
there
easier
and
that you don't have to jump from one
to
winery
the
to
other.
another. Yeah, I would imagine that.
Yes.
That's a win-win for everybody.
It is, and I have my own little tanks that Buttonwood uses, and I use their bottling equipment, so it all works out.
So we're going to be pouring. I get to taste for the first time your Gewürztraminer. This is a 2017 from Los Alamos Vineyard.
Correct.
So tell us a little bit about this wine. You thought it was pretty special.
Well, it's a really fun word too. So Gewürztraminer, which
Gewürztraminer.
and if my last name is Steinwachs, I thought I could put Steinwachs Gewürztraminer, go all the way around the label. But it's a German grape by origin. It's a very aromatic grape. I hadn't worked with it before, so I was just really interested in it. And it's one of those.
And did you start this in 2007 at the?
This is the first vintage.
This is the first vintage.
Yes.
Oh wow.
Yes. So the grapes themselves are kind of russet color. They're like Pinot Gris or Grigio. They're delicious to eat.
That is really
good. But this is just, I don't know. It's unusual.
That is really good.
And
just so you know, we're filming this at like 9 a.m, and I can tell you, I could have this for breakfast.
Wine. Yeah,
this is really good. Hopefully, we'll get through this interview. This is delicious.
And you can make this in any ways. It's like a lot of things like Riesling and a lot of German wines. People sometimes expect this going to be a sweet wine, but this is dry, but very
approachable.
Yes.
Yeah. If there's a lot of Rieslings to me that just taste when it's so
cloying sometimes.
Yeah. This is very approachable. It's got a lot of finesse to it.
Yeah, it's great
as
to
well.
make.
And this isn't a grape that you see around here.
No, unfortunately, I think that, you probably know better than I, but a lot of times people don't want to order a wine that they don't know how to say.
It's intimidating.
So, yes. So
that's why you watch these videos. Gewürztraminer. But say it fast.
You just call it Gewürzt. That's what people do.
Or cough, as you're saying it.
So I think that there probably was in the early days a lot more Riesling and Gewürztraminer planted here in the valley, but as we kind of figure out where things are grown better, and as we adjust our wine growing to wine tastes, I think a lot of it was pulled out. This is one of Louis Lucas's vineyards. Yeah, and Louis grows everything. So if you want to try to find a grape around here that is hard to find, you look to Louis Lucas. This is from one of his Los Alamos vineyards, so older vines, and he makes some out of his own brand as well. Megan makes it; she's talented.
And so this is the only vineyard in Santa Barbara County
I can find.
That
there used to be some on Olivos vineyard, but I don't think it's there anymore either.
Well, I think more people, if they taste this wine, I think we might start educating people on how to enunciate it, and then hopefully we'll get some more because it's beautiful.
Thank you.
So. Tell me a little bit about when I interviewed you for Buttonwood. We got, your lovely life story journey into how you became a winemaker. So if you'd like to hear that part, go back and watch our Buttonwood interviews, which was such a fun story.
It was fun.
Wonderful journey and how you got here and found your place in the wine world. Tell us a little bit about Seagrape, and let's start with the name, Seagrape.
Sure. Yeah, so when I went to Buttonwood in 2007, and part of the agreement was that I could make wine there, and my late husband was still alive at that time, Dave Robinson, and we made the wine.
And what aspect what part was he involved in with wine?
He liked to call himself the chief taster.
Yeah.
He had a lot to do with...
Someone's got to do it.
Yeah, I know, quality control.
Yeah.
But he had a lot of ideas. He was English, and he grew up on European wines, so he had a lot of ideas about how to particularly craft Pinot Noir in the style that he really was most fond of, which is very Burgundian. There's a lot of whole cluster inclusion, etc. And both of us were really big fans of the Santa Rita Hills area. So we had made the wines, and they were in barrel. We didn't know what to call them. We did not want to call them our own names. And so we were sitting on a beach.
Pronouncing.
Well, not only that, yeah, but like, you see so many people like, the Sanfords that don't own their own name anymore. So we were sitting on a beach in St. Croix on the Virgin Islands where I used to live. And that beach is called Grape Tree Beach. And there's a lot of sea grape trees, which are called Uva Loco Cupavera or something like that. And these gorgeous leaves, and they actually have fruit that will turn purple. So it's very interesting in that it reminds you of wine grapes. And we said, well, we'll call it grape tree, which is what the natives down there call these trees. They call them grape trees instead of sea grapes. And I thought, well, that's very confusing. So then we said, well, what about Seagrape? And we're going to call it Seagrape Cellars. And I thought, well, as much as I would love to be like closely affiliated with Sea Smoke Cellars, it sounded a little too close. So
don't want to make neighbors upset.
After consultation with the GM over at Sea Smoke, who was okay with Seagrape, we did call it Seagrape Wine Company.
So there's sentimental value,
Yes.
memories with your husband.
Yes. Although I have had a number of inquiries on email about whether it is made from sea grapes. It is not. It is made from wine grapes.
That's. Have you ever tried for fun?
I'm sure you can. I mean, you can make wine from just about anything that has some kind of sugar in it.
And they're edible?
They're edible.
Might be on something.
I don't know. Well, they have to be in a tropical location to see them. So.
But for you, it's a sentimental tribute to a place that was special.
Correct. A place and a man who was very special.
So he passed away in 2014. And how has your winemaking evolved doing this without him?
Well, I get to make my own decisions, but we also,
and you have to live with your own decisions.
That's true. Like, I don't have anybody to blame anymore, but I still do, on the Pinot Noir, I still do a lot of whole cluster. I like it as well. The Chardonnay style hasn't changed very much either, in that I make it still in a way that appeals to a lot of different styles of Chardonnay. But Dave was very focused on just Santa Rita Hills and just Pinot and Chardonnay, and to me that doesn't fill out a meal.
Yeah, it's important to be able to have a first course, second course.
Yeah, because I think as you, like, I think that really wine is just an extension of the plate and is a part of the meal. So,
although we're enjoying it for breakfast here,
it's a meal. Yeah, there are breakfast wines. Yeah,
good thing I ate something first.
So I decided to expand the brand a little bit, adding the Gewürztraminer in last year. I make a dry rosé as well, and then there's a kind of another reserve Pinot Noir that stays in barrel a little bit.
So how many wines? What's your overall?
5.
5 wines, and then you have 10 wines for Buttonwood.
Oh, I have probably double that. I just can't stop making wines. I just keep like.
How do you keep track of them all?
Well, just like what if we did this or what if we did that? So there. We have a lot of, like a cornucopia of grapes at Buttonwood, so and it's really, it's exciting to try to make blends and do weird things.
Sounds like you're having fun.
Oh, I mean, how could you not?
So, if you were to sum up an aspect of your personality that gets infused into inevitably buttonwood as well, but let's be specific with Seagrape, because I imagine you would treat these wines a little differently. You know, you're the only one that has to be happy with the end result. You don't have to please anybody else or make sure that you're making, you know, something that's going to sell on a large level. It's just your small productions. So,
Right.
What's an aspect of your personality that gets infused into your Seagrape wines?
Well, it might be curiosity. I mean, I don't think that I would have. I didn't know anything about making Gewürztraminer, so I kind of sought that out and just took a chance. And you're so correct, because you know I make the most delicious wines I possibly can for buttonwood, but I can take more risk with my wines, because if I totally screw it up and I have to throw it out, that's just on me, right? So. I mean, and there's so much stuff
have you ever had to do that?
Yes, I have had.
With what?
It was a Chardonnay that I just wasn't where I wanted it to be. So
good for you.
Yeah, no, it wasn't good at all.
See, and that's what you can't do that with kids.
No, yeah. Go play with your neighbors. Yeah. So curious, probably, and I think that.
Well, and if you were a big winery and you needed every penny, you would probably just have to go ahead and
figure it out, and you also have bigger things you can blend things into and kind of like hide a little bit. And I mean, I think the care and attention, given my background, and I'm pretty Germanic in my genes anyway, as far as tidiness and cleanliness and things like that. So there's a lot of precision in what I do, but I think that what if we did that is probably somewhat in the wines, because they're somewhat unusual.
Well, we are ecstatic about featuring them this month. We're going to have all 3 of the wines available by the glass as a tasting flight. Then they're also going to be 20% off throughout the month, and you know, it's just a great way to taste them for yourself, see which ones you like, and stock up while they're at this featured wine discount of 20% off. So you can also purchase them on our website at winemerchantcafe.com, or you can come in, have lunch and dinner, have a tasting flight, and enjoy them that way. And Karen, yeah, definitely.
I think you have to try
We don't serve breakfast, but it will be good for lunch and dinner too.
Yeah, chicken and waffles with this, that'd be great.
Ooh, that would be good. Well, Karen, your curiosity and just your down-to-earth qualities, I think, showcase in all of your wines, and it's a pleasure having you again. And cheers to all your hard work for being an amazing woman winemaker in Santa Barbara County. We're lucky to have you.
Oh, thanks.
Cheers.
Cheers.